making those paychecks, going to rent, going to everything. I mean, I walked to work, but you know what? That gave me what a value is, and it gave me the opportunity to better myself without relying on other people. I learned how to be myself and be confident and learn from mistakes. You know, I made tons of mistakes, but it gave me the great opportunity.
Puppies. What's the difference between President Joe Biden and a circuit breaker?
What is it?
Circuit breakers trip over high overloads to prevent damage. Joe Biden trips over stairs, sandbags, and words. All right, man. Look, happy you came back. You were here before, and we're gonna take a look at it.
No, the overall story is I knew that, you know, I took a gamble, I took a bet, you know, I took however you wanted to, and I put in the time and effort to make it successful so that, you know, now I have, you know, a girl, I have a son, you know, all this stuff. I'm able to travel to Chicago free of charge, you know, hang out with everybody. You know, I get to travel all over the United States on the company's expense and eat at wonderful places. So, you know, if you look back at my 22-year-old, I was like, what are you doing? And, you know, I'm looking now and I'm like, man, you made the right decision.
All right, man. When you came here before, you were living in Texas, and now you're making a different change. You know, part of this channel, like I've always talked about, was we're not only gonna get into sports gambling or investing. You know, everything is a bet in life. You know, I described it to you the other day when we were at the bar, and you said, "Well, this is more of a sports channel, isn't it?" But it's really not. You know, this is a live channel where we're going to talk about risk. You know, a bet is a risk. I took a risk the other night after having a couple beers, 2 beers to be exact, to drive home. At any point during my time driving home, I could have got pulled over, and it could have been bad. It was a risk I was willing to take. It was a bet. So that's why this is the betting public. And we're going to talk about a risk that you're taking again. And I think it's going to be pretty fun. So we're going to talk about your story and we're going to move on from there. But look, you're moving from Texas back home, but you're moving to the next state. Which state's that?
Moving back to Illinois or Indiana, you know, right on the border. You know, that being said, you know, Mike, I appreciate you letting me come back on the show. You know, it's been quite a while, you know, so, you know, let everybody know. So what's going on? You know, I was a sales trainer for about 3 years, you know, in Texas. You know, I traveled all over the United States, training people, teaching people, and I really enjoyed it. You know, I found a hiccup in my life where I wanted to progress, but I had to step out of my comfort zone because I needed management training. You know, they wanted that underneath my belt. So, you know, the gamble, the risks, the challenge I had to face myself was to step out of my comfort zone and to try something new. So I decided to take a position in Indiana, Maryville to be precise, to gain more knowledge, to take that extra step so that for my future 5, 10 years from now, I can better myself, you know, increase my money, increase my, you know, overall performance in life to make me more happier. You know, that being said, you know, now I'm a supervisor. I pretty much run with about 15 to 20 techs on a daily basis and assist them with whatever they need. And, you know, it's a big learning curve. It's not something you can just walk in one day and I got this. There's so much more things, and now I really understand of why, you know, they people want management experience because it's not something you can learn in a school because you're dealing with different personalities, different people, different reasons for everything. And, you know, taking that gamble is, you know, it's a very risky thing because some people just can't handle that load.
Yeah, dealing with people is a little different, but just to clarify, you lived in Illinois, you grew up in Illinois, you moved from Illinois, the Chicagoland area at what age?
At 22.
22, and you've been there for about the last 14 years, right?
Yes.
So you've basically spent your entire career in Texas.
Oh yeah.
All right. That being said, what are your expectations with moving back here from living in Texas to moving in Indiana? Is it just a management experience or is there something else?
Oh no, I mean there's a lot. I mean, I have a lot of my family here. More of a socializing. The one thing that happened with me in Texas and with my old position, I'm more of a, isolated because I moved to Texas by myself, no family, started off with no friends. I made a few. Then I moved to Dallas and it was the same scenario where I didn't have no family, no friends. Um, and progressed in my life, and the biggest thing here is meeting up with my old friends, my old family, and getting this management position because I need that training. But in the long run, this is a hopefully just a stop for 2 or 3 years because I really want to take another, I guess you would say, a risk or a gamble on doing upper management, being having 100 people underneath me.
So, so you're like a real life Texan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the accent as bad as it. I mean, still people in Texas still say I still have a. They like to call it a Yankee accent. But I do pick up a lot of words. I actually have a son that is pure Texan, and you talk to him, and he says y'all all
I was gonna
day.
say, do you say y'all a lot?
My son does constantly. How y'all do all this? I'm like, did you what? Or I'm fixing. God, that drives me up the wall. Like, what time is it? I'm fixing. What do you mean you're fixing? Like, what are you fixing? And he's like, that means I'm gonna tell you what time it is. I'm like, why don't you just say I'll tell you? It's less words, less pronouns. Like, but it's just one of those things. But
You got both the Midwest and then
Texas,
Texas twang to you as well. That's
yeah, I can understand their language.
what
But
what kind of cultural differences do you think is gonna be most challenging to you moving from Texas back to the Midwest?
I mean, that's a really good question. Some of it is gonna be, I guess, how you present yourself. I always kind of see it. People up north are more of a laid back culture versus a Texas where you need to be, sharp, proud, it's kind of way you talk to people. You have to be like, you have to use a lot more yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir. What I've seen for people out here is, hey, man, how are you doing today? You can't say that to a Texan. They're like, what are you talking about, sir? Oh, sorry, how was your day going, sir? That's a big culture difference. I think northerns are a lot more relaxed and friendly, versus Texas will be, they're more of a keep to yourself, but if you need a helping hand, they will stop everything what they're doing and help you out.
What, what are you gonna miss most about Texas, man?
Oh, warm weather, man. Oh man, that's the biggest
Well, it's hot here right
big.
now, but it's humid hot.
Yeah, it's humid hot, but I mean I can deal with that. But I mean, I haven't had a shovel snow in 14 years.
You ready for that?
Oh man, I am not ready for that, man. I mean, like I was trying, long story, I was trying to get a promotion actually in Chicago. Everything didn't pan out, and that's when they really told me I need supervisor position. Uh, but I hesitated the first time when they offered it to me, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And the only main reason why was snow. First thing popped in my head, snow. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to get up at 5 in the morning and shovel my driveway. That's just something I've just never had to do, and since I was, you know 18, 17, 18. I mean, I'm a 35 going on 36, and last time I had a shovel snow was probably about when I was 18, because when I was a little bit older we lived in apartments and we had plow trucks. But it's one of those things that, man, that's my, I guess you'd say, biggest fear of, man, I do not want to wake up. But I do have, like I said, a son. So guess who's going to get up the first couple times?
Yeah, I'd imagine you made some connections in Texas. Like you made some connections here before you left to Texas. You maintained those connections. It was a lot easier because it was family and friends. But now you're moving away from Texas. How do you plan on maintaining those relationships? And what type of what do you expect out of those relationships now that you're not going to be around?
So, when you're talking about maintaining those relationships, to be honest, um, a lot of the people I had friends with, I'm not too much. I think the more of maintaining it would be with my, girlfriends, family. Um, that's a little bit of a struggle. That's something where, or the mother of my child that lives in Texas. Those are the biggest struggles that I'm gonna have to deal with. And we're still gonna go visit there. Michelle will fly out there, or I will have to go out there with my son to take him to his mom's, things like that. And I can still see some of my old friends, but mostly I'm gonna honestly, the people I really met out there weren't someone who I want to spend entire time with.
Like a lifelong friend that you would
Yeah,
consider, right? Not like
family
not like
member.
how
Yeah,
you have back here, right?
exactly. I grew up with the people here, and I knew them for 10 plus years, 15 years, and still kept in touch with them. Maybe I didn't talk to them for a year, but as soon as I start talking to them, it's like we pick back up. I never really built that relationship because I went down there when I was 22, and meeting a 25-year-old versus meeting a 10-year-old. When you meet them when you're 10 years old, they're buddies and buddies, and you spend 10 years together versus you hang out, meet someone at 25, you might spend a year or two with them, and then everybody has to go their separate ways. Life changes. I had a son. Guess what? I couldn't go out and hang out with these people anymore. So, we lost a lot of relationships and stuff like that.
You know, looking back at everything, it's really you're closing up a chapter in your life, because you started a new chapter. Now you're coming back. It's still, you're still reading the same book, but you're in a different chapter now, right? Given everything that you've been through living in Texas, before you got to Texas, that you can look back on now and you can say, yeah, that's how it was, or that's how it wasn't. Is there any misconceptions that you might have had before you moved down there that are totally true versus totally not true from what you thought? Like the whole y'all thing, and
Oh,
just like
yeah.
y'all weather jobs opportunity, because when you went down there, I mean, it was kind of like it was on a whim. You just did it and you found your place with in that particular part of the country. Was there something that you look back, you're like, I thought Texas was going to be like this, or you know what, it turned out to be this?
Yeah. So, funny story is, a little bit, I'll go back a little bit. Let me give you a little background. So, I was 20, 21, 22, and I lost my job. Um, and I actually had a buddy of mine that I worked for at Kmart. He was a store manager, and he actually moved to Texas prior to me. And I lost my job. Everything, in my life wasn't going great. So I called this guy and I asked him, hey, can I get a job at Kmart? And he's like, yeah, all you gotta do is come down here. So I decided to make that change. I literally planned this for a week, and I drove all the way down there, got set up. Like you were saying, things that wasn't, expect what I was expecting. I'm expecting cowboys. I'm expecting guys walking around with horses all day, chewing tobacco, a straw in their mouth. That those were things I was expecting. I'm expecting, I'm driving down the road and there's a horse shit on the fucking side of it. I got to watch out where I step every day. Going to the convenience store, they're gonna have saddle things you can tie your horse to.
You had westerns on your mind, eh?
Yeah, I mean that's what I think of Texas. I mean, you think about Texas, you see cowboys, rough men. I mean, when I got there, it's a realistic thing. Is there's not very much difference in a daily day life as versus living in a smaller town. Because I moved to a small town, not tiny, but it was a lot smaller than Chicago. Uh, it was just like as big as Des Plaines or something like that. I mean, that's how big the whole town was. And then the next towns were 30 to 40 miles. Another biggest thing is Texans think an hour drive is down the road. So I lived in a place and my grocery store was about a 30, 40-minute drive. And to me, that's like, man, that is so far. We're gonna stock up, but most people, that's, oh, it's right down the street, and I'm like, no, it's not. That's 20 miles away. Like, that is not. Oh, you can go 75. Oh, still, it's 20 miles away. Like, I don't care how fast you can go. If you're driving 20 to 30 miles to get somewhere, I mean, that's money in the gas. That's, 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, I grew up around here where, I mean, everything's 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away. I mean, you can walk to, growing up, me and you used to walk to the grocery store and get stuff, walk to the convenience store. You can't do that in Texas. Everything's a mile away. I mean, they go one gas station and then 10 miles down the road, there's another gas station. That's the difference because it's so much land and it's so spread out where nothing's in between. I mean, you'll just see farming and that's about it. So those were the big difference in cultures that I've seen versus when I was expecting to what I realized what was there versus what was coming when I had here.
So, in context, you went from right outside of Chicago to Texas. You moved around Texas. Now you're back in Illinois, but you're going to move to Indiana because that's closer to your new work or your new office. Same company, but no new office. Um, Man, tell us about, like, if somebody wanted to make a move nowadays and they've never done this before, what were the steps that you went through from uh, moving out of your apartment to getting all your stuff ready to be put in a truck to to actually now searching for a new residence?
So, you know, when I made the decision, first thing I had to figure out what areas I wanted to move to. I looked up on some apps, looked at, best schools because of my son,
Hmm.
and kind of gauged on pricing wise of where. Next thing was to, what am I going to do with all my stuff? If I'm going to move, am I going to get a place first and then move all my stuff with it? Or what I'm doing right now, my cousin is assisting me, but sorry, kind of lost track. But no, so what I'm going to be doing now is, my cousin is assisting me, kind of helping me out, so I can have save some money up to get a place. And then once I get the place, I'm going to have them come and install everything, remove everything, put everything back where it was. That was a decision I made instead of renting a U-Haul, paying, about $1,100 it was, and then me loading it all by myself, and then driving all the way up here, spending gas money and everything like that. I decided to go a different route with them helping me pack. Well, I packed it all, and then they, brought it all down and installed it. The biggest problem I ran into was, like I said, I'm a sales trainer, so I'm going to negotiate deals. I'm going to do this. Um, Unfortunately, I got deceived or misled. I got a couple quotes from about 3 to 4 companies, and I negotiated like, all right, this is what this company is going to do for me. This is what, can you match it? Can you beat me on this price? And the company that decided to give me the best price, the best quote, I thought it was great. I thought it was all good. They came in about $400 less than their other competitor. They gave me a lot of, negotiations. But here's the thing: if you ever going to hire someone that's going to move something, there's two lists. There's a list that a service they're going to do. So that means like they're going to wrap your TVs or they're going to take out your mirror, install something for you guys, things like that. They're going to wrap the beds for you. Then there's another list where it itemizes all your stuff. And that is what I did not realize because it was on the top part, but not on the bottom part. And that's how they brought the bill lower, was they took off my larger items and put them on the top. So when the movers got there for long distance moves, they go by square feet. They don't go by how much they got to bring down, how big it is. They just have to go by how much room it takes up. And longer story, make it short, they gave me, oh, we're going to wrap your 4 TVs for free. But they didn't put it on there. So that's another, 300, 200 square feet that needs to be added onto it, or 50 square feet or something like that. They had my son's match or bed frame taken apart, queen size bed frame, but they didn't put the queen bed on it. So that was another $100. So all of in total, that cheaper price I thought it was actually turned into $1,100 more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever decide to move, always make sure that the lowest price isn't because it's going to be the lowest price. It's because, they could be taking things off of your inventory.
It feels like they roped you in, and then when the people went there to actually do the work, they're like, "Well, this isn't it. This isn't what's on the quote." Is that
Yeah, that's
kinda...
exactly how it went. They're like, "Well, this isn't on it. Are you taking this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm taking that." "Well, that's not on it." I'm like, "It's right up here." And he goes, "No, that's what we're going to disinstall that for you. We're going to take that bed apart free of charge, but we're not going to take the bed."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's one of those things where that salesman got me. I mean, and I was in a position where, and that's another great point. If you are going to be moving long distance, always get it moved out 4 or 5 days before you actually need to move. Maybe even a week, because I was told I was leaving the 1st. They were supposed to be there on the 31st. And they kept telling me, "Oh, we're delayed. And then they finally told me at 3:30 that they're not coming. And I'm like, "Well, we'll be there at 8. Well, and guess what? They didn't show there at 8. They showed up at 9. And then they increased my bill to $1,100. Me personally, I would have told them to get out of my house. Don't come back here. But I had to get it done that day. There was nothing else I could do. I mean, I couldn't tell them no, because then I would need to pay more in rent and would have cost me more money, and I would have been gone because I had a plane ticket I had to get on.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't be there to observe and see what's going on.
So don't wait till the last day is what you're saying.
No, don't at all. Man, and that's a lesson learned, because it's different moving from, city to city versus moving from state to state.
No. When you moved to Texas, how'd you get there? Did you just...
Oh, I had a duffel bag, and I rented a car for a day, and I drove it all the way down there. All I had was duffel bag. I had a little TV. I mean, when I mean little TV, it was the old school ones that weighed probably about 60 pounds. But, and, I just drove down there, rented a car, and got there.
It was a lot easier to move there than it was to move away from there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something that, a lot of people don't realize. It takes time to accumulate things. All the stuff I have, I just didn't buy it one day. I didn't win the lottery and been able to buy everything in my house. Every 3 to 4 months, I bought something for my house. I spent my, $100, $50, $100, and just bought things throughout the years. So, in 14 years, you spend $100 a month on something, you're going to have quite a bit of things. And sometimes I spent more than 100, I bought a couple TVs, but I bought one TV every 2 years, stuff like that. New couch, new beds. My son needed a new bed. So every year, I probably invested about $3 to $4 grand in my house to better myself. And that's how I accumulated my stuff. Instead of a duffel bag and a TV, sleeping on a air mattress when I first moved there.
Now, you're moving back here because you're switching positions within your company, or you wanted to be closer to your old friends and family?
A lot of it's both. I wanted to be closer to my friends and family, but
Because you could have went other places too.
Yeah, I could have went other places. I could have went to, our company has about 52 offices in the United States, and they're scattered all over the place. But I wanted to get a position up here so I can be. But in my career path, I had no progression, and I'm a progressor. I don't like to be standing still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like to promote. I like to learn new things. I like to, pretty much evolve myself. If you stay stagnant, working at like Walmart for 10 years, I mean, that's something that you're never really going to progress unless you take a supervisor or management position. And that's how you progress. And if it's not available at your store, you're going to have to go to other stores and stuff like that. I mean, everybody should be doing that. I mean, that's how, I look at myself and be successful is you can't stay in a position for, I would say, less than 5 years. You need to keep doing better, keep progressing. May not be with the same company, might be, you might be working one company and you get your experience there, and then you can take it to another company and make twice as much, because how I always seen it, no company is going to give you a better raise than starting with a new company.
Mm-hmm.
There you might make, oh, we'll give you 50 cents if you start doing this. Well, hey, over there, they're going to give me $10 more. You're still going to give me 50 cents? Well, that's the only thing we can do for you. All right. And that's how, just society works nowadays. It's unfortunately, you can't stay with one company for 50 years and they're going to take care of you. It's something that you always need to be looking for the best opportunities for yourself.
Yeah. You only have one life to live, and you got to live it. You have to make sure you maximize it, and you can't get comfortable in a particular company, in a particular position. I mean, one thing that we're learning right now is just how high everything costs due to inflation and just life in general. If you're in the same position and you're making the same money and you're not progressing, well, you're getting left behind, right? And, you got to maximize every single day you're on this planet and you're alive. And I'm happy that you're moving back, and that not just you're moving back, but that you see that you're gonna continue the progress. You definitely recognize the staleness that was happening, so now you're gonna move to a different area. You're gonna be revitalized, rejuvenated, and you're in a new position now. You're gonna learn some new stuff, and then a couple years from now, right, you're gonna move on to a different position, and you're just gonna continue and continue and continue, right, doing that.
Yep. Until, I feel like I'm in a successful position where I'm making the money I want to make in life. Um, it's one of those things where I've always wanted to make 80 grand, but as soon as I make 80 grand for a year, that's done. Now it's 100 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And, I make that 100 grand, then what's the next step? And, I'm not saying I want to make, $6 million a year, but at the same time, I want to live the way I want to live in my comfortable life. And the best way that I know how to is to progress with companies and, maybe start dealing with, Bitcoins or, stuff like that, doing a little bit more on the side to make additional revenue.
Well, you're betting on yourself.
Yep.
And that's what this is. This is the betting public. We make, we talk about bets, but we also talk about every risk that you're taking in life. And part of that is the risk of betting on yourself, because you're really, there's, like I said, there's not too many people who would move away from their current comfort zone and take that risk to better themselves. So you're betting on yourself. And that was what we had talked about last time. It was, you had just moved there. Now it's, we're following up on that. Now you're betting on yourself again. It's another bet. And, I always dislike people who they don't take any risk, whether it's a standpoint of, oh, I don't want to get involved with the stock market, or, gambling, you're a degenerate, or, I'm just going to get in this position. I'm just going to live comfortable my whole life. I don't want to move up or do anything. It's, to me, those type of people, I'm like, me and you would probably never get along.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like, it's all about education, and it's about you taking the effort and learning these things. And if you have someone that is familiar, it's actually listening to them and understanding, like, ask them questions. If you have a buddy that's into, crypto or, any other thing, gambling, stuff like that, and they are successful at it, why don't you ask them? Why don't you talk to them? And if it's something you get educated enough and you learn, take that risk. Maybe you make an extra, $1,000, $500, whatever you're willing to gamble. And if it's successful, that's great. If it's not, what, $100, $200?
Well, now you're betting. This is your life, though. You're betting on your life.
Oh, I know
So
that.
I mean, it's a really big. You're not betting on your life, but you get what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
you're betting on your lifestyle. You're betting on even the weather. You
Yeah.
know,
God.
you're gonna take a gamble
Stop reminding me about that,
that
man.
these cold winters aren't gonna be as bad
Oh.
as they are gonna be. But
Oh man, I am not looking forward to that.
it might not be as long as you think it is. Maybe, like you said, a few years. You know, then maybe you move. Maybe back to Texas, or you move to somewhere that doesn't have snow, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not forever, you know.
Oh, I know.
It's not, things are fluid, right? It's
Exactly.
so no, it's great, and I'm happy that we've had this chat again. And is there anything that you want to add before we go?
Yeah. Like we were talking about, taking the risks. There's one thing, I always like to tell everybody is if you're not happy with your life, what's the harm of trying something new?
Mm.
So I wasn't happy when I was 22 and I wanted to do better. So I took the risk. If I moved to Texas, I was alone with a duffel bag and a TV, and I had about $1,100. I put it for the first 3 months or first month of rent, or 15 to 20 days of rent, and I had maybe $100 left in my pocket. And, me working at Kmart, making those paychecks, going to rent, going to everything. I mean, I walked to work. But you know what? That gave me what a value is. And it gave me the opportunity to better myself without relying on other people. I learned how to be myself and be confident and learn from mistakes. I made tons of mistakes, but it gave me the great opportunity.
Those are some powerful words, man, and I appreciate everything you just said right there. I think a lot of people can learn from that. I truly do. And we're gonna end it here. It's Betting Public Podcast. We'll be back. I know you're gonna be back. We're gonna do a lot more of these. We won't always talk about Texas or Indiana. Maybe next time we'll talk about me.
All right, man.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you.